And all right, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fearless Fridays. Hey, I'm so excited. I'm your host, Rafiat, and we're here for Fearless Friday. I have the lovely Kelly with me today. Hey, Kelly. You're probably wondering what is Fearless Fridays? Well, it is conversation about overcoming fear, building resilience, really living your best life, and just breaking out of the box that people try to put you in. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited for this conversation today because this woman has impacted me so much, so much. And so today we are talking about. Oh yes, that reminds me. Please share, guys. If you find value in this conversation, please share with at least one person. Share the love with someone else. Comment. Let us know that you're here. Say hello. If you're watching a replay, hello. Please say hi. I would love to know that you're watching as well. Yeah. And so today we are talking about what I like to call the ripple effect. And so that's really this idea of like you never know who will be affecting or what you'll be affecting based on the decisions that you make. So today we're really talking about ripple effect in life. And so, Kelly, please introduce to the folks. You're a little bit about introduce yourself, and then let's start maybe with your story. But let's introduce you first.
Sure. Well, hey, everyone. It is such an honor to be here in the room with Rafiat, one of my favorite humans. We are great friends, new friends. I mean, we met back in February, which you'll hear a little bit about in a minute. I live on the East Coast of Canada. I'm in southern New Brunswick in a beautiful little town called Quispamsis. I live on the Kennebecasis River. And yeah, lots of Indigenous names around where I live. And I am in love with the water. That's one thing I like to always say. And the water is my happy place. The river is my happy place. I'm so blessed. I am turning 60 in December. Who starts out their introduction by saying how old they are? But you know,
you're proud. Hey, Chantal says hi.
Hey, Chantal. So here's the thing. These are the best years of my life in some respects. And I have 6 kids, born them all myself, 8 grandkids. They live Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, here at home, and in Connecticut. And that's who I am. I am a serial entrepreneur. I raised my kids at home. I stayed at home. I homeschooled for 15 years, did things on the side, and I am an entrepreneur. So right now I have 2 gigs. I am a breakthrough coach and with Rafiat on that team. And I am also a sales ambassador and team developer, leader developer with a company called Tiber River out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Nice. That's me.
Yes, Kelly does many things. You don't even know the fire, the hustle. She inspires me all the time. And I love the fact that you dropped your age because I feel like sometimes people feel like, I'm getting older, so I can't do. But I need them to hear you right now. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. If that fire is within you, you got it. Let's get it.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so excited. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about really is your journey, Kelly. So I think what shocked me the most once I got to know you is just how much you, like in your life, you have a lot going on. Like you got a lot going on in just your personal life and just this idea of like sacrificing for your freedom and like knowing that you have to do everything that you had to do in order to achieve that. So talk to me a little bit, talk to us, I should say, a little bit about that journey.
So yeah, I like to call I'm the school of hard knocks girl, and I have amazing parents. I come from a beautiful family. I have 3 siblings, but I was a bit of I don't want to say rebel, but kind of. I think my parents would have said, yeah, I'm a bit of a rebel, and but I've just always been outside that box, and some people would maybe label me the black sheep of the family. I don't know. I mean, I turned out pretty decent at the end of the day, but I had some tough times, and I actually had my first child when I was 16, so I was a teenage mom, and and so I've just had this journey of I don't know, I don't know how, I don't even know the best. I don't label my journey, but I've just been the journey of being outside the norms, and I guess to some
Yeah, that's what I hear for sure. It's really just against the grain, against what people would assume. Actually, yeah, let's just touch on that for a little, because I find that people who are entrepreneurial by spirit kind
yeah.
of do think outside the box
Yes.
generally. And most people don't quite understand that. So how has it been for you to, I guess the good is you always get creative, right, to find solutions. But how has that been in your life? Like, how have you kind of harnessed that power to think outside the box and to create? Like, being in direct sales for 25 years is not easy. You know what I mean? Being in entrepreneurship for so long is not easy. So how have you been able to just like put that on as your, like, this is my armor, this is who I show up in the world?
Well, I think it's just because, you know, despite despite the different adversity and things that I faced and all of that, you know, I have had this ingrained belief in myself that I could do great things. And, you know, and sometimes the reality of my life, like, it didn't line up with what was on the inside. Sometimes I felt like I was just this abnormal dreamer person full of, you know, power and capability and achievement. And yet, you know, my reality did not align with what was on the inside. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
so, but that faith that I had on the inside, you know, and people, why don't you just go get a normal job? Not that I never did a job, because I did work, you know, like I had, but, you know, I just, I made decisions and choices in my life that were in alignment, you know, with this dreaming thing that I had, this dreamer person, and like work ethic out the wazoo. You know, but I also got trapped for many years in a cycle of striving and that hard work, and you know what I mean, and getting stuck in that cycle of just working everybody else under the table, but yeah, actually not seeing the fruit in my life, you know, for all of that work and all of that belief. But yeah, and so for me, I just always had this, listen, if I pour all of who I am and all of what I know I can do into my own thing, I just always had this stake in the ground belief that that was always the best move for me. And that if I can show up and work really hard for someone else, how hard will I work for me? And you know what I mean? And so that's kind of what held me in that whole entrepreneurial piece in response to that question.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. I think what you said is so important. Like, what I really got from that is like you had this basically this unshakable belief in yourself. Like, in spite of what was kind of going on in life, you're like, no, I know who I am, and I don't quite understand it yet, but I know that this is the thing that's kind of grounding me. And I think that's very important for people to understand. It's because if you don't know who you are, then life does kind of wash you away.
Yes.
But you're like, no, I know that it doesn't look like it right now. You know what I mean? I think sometimes you kind of get lost in like, I have these dreams. Like, that was what struggled for me. And I think maybe that's why we connected, is because what I was struggling with was like, I have these dreams, but life is just not looking like what I think it's supposed to look like.
Come on. Yeah.
And then you were just
and
like,
I got accused, Rafi, too. I would get accused of, like, people would, oh, you're such a positive Polly. Like,
like, that's a bad thing? What?
Like, the glass is always full, eternal optimist, like all those things, which, you know, some people see as this, like, negative. And for me, it was like, are you kidding? This is my fuel. This is my fire, you know, this is my fire. This is what, like, believing, you know, and I didn't know what I didn't know until about a year or so ago. But I still had that fire that was fuel to my fire that said, no, tomorrow is a better day. You know what I mean?
Yes, that hope. It sounds like you always had that hope. And I feel like that's the problem. People kind of lose hope. So let's fast forward a little bit in the story. Let's talk about that moment where, what was happening in your life where you decided yourself to reach out for help, because you're like, okay, I know I have this hope in me, but I don't, getting kind of hard. Let's talk about those moments, because that's real life, right?
It is. Yeah. And so for me, what happened was I had this awakening moment where despite the fact that, you know, I was a strong person and I was able to endure a lot of tough stuff and didn't have an easy journey in many respects. I had an awakening moment where, if you had asked me, do you ever get stressed? You know, people would say, you know, you spin a lot of plates, you got a lot going on, and, you know, and had some new sort of a new journey that I'm on with my husband and his health. And so there were just these things and there were these plates spinning. And I was like, oh my God, no, I never get stressed. I'm not stressed. And I kind of like had this identity of this person that doesn't get moved, even though it gets really hard. And what happened was I had this very huge moment in an airplane at 35,000 feet a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. I can't even believe that was that long ago. And I had what I now believe was a panic attack or an anxiety attack or something. I thought I was dying of a stroke or a heart attack in the plane, all traveling by myself. Yeah. And what happened, you know, to be the Coles notes around that is what I'd been doing just as I'd been burying stress in my body.
Come on. Wow.
I had no self-awareness that that's what I was doing, and had no idea the impact of years of stress and strain had been buried in my tissues. And so that began a journey of
okay, hold on. I just want to touch on that for a second because I need people to understand what happened. Stress literally still found its way, even though you weren't outwardly stressed about it. It still found its way inwardly inside your body. And I think some people don't realize is that even if you feel like you're not stressed, stress is still there.
Come on.
It's still kind of like we are all connected. And I think sometimes you don't. It took me a while to understand the mind, body, soul connection. And that is it, because you are all one.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't find itself out, it finds itself in. So for you, it was your heart, it was your nervous system, and it came out in a form of a panic attack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Heart palpitations. You know, the EMTs met me at the airport in Toronto, and my blood pressure was 220 over 140.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Terror. And so that began a journey for me. And it was like this brave look in the mirror. And about 5 or 6 days later, Toyin Crandall coaching came across my newsfeed.
My God. Okay. Yes. Let's talk about that. Wow. I feel like for me, it was the same thing in terms of like, I just came to this realization in my own life and then boom, it's like the doors started opening up. He provides the way. And let's talk about that. So guys, I need to understand that Kelly decided in her life that, okay, I can't live like this anymore. And so she sought help.
Yeah.
So what was that journey like for you? So I think when we talked, you said that was back in March
of 2019. Yeah.
Wow. March in 2019, you got the help, you decided, and then you got started in the summer, right?
Yep.
You had to fight. All right, guys, I'm telling you guys, she had to fight to get started too. The real thing.
Oh yeah. I had to fight to get started. I dug deep. I did. You know what? When you're ready, it's undeniable. You can't deny a moment in time where you get to decide to either cower in fear and just say this is all there is, or to fight for the help that you need, for the solution that you need, and to be willing to do whatever it takes, because there was no way that you could put a dollar value on shifting from that place into the place that I currently live. And so I fought, I got resourceful, I made sacrifices. I looked fear dead in the eye and said, you know what, you're not controlling me anymore. I'm getting the help to get free.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like that really is that sacrificial moment where you're like, okay, there's things I'm going to have to give up.
Yeah.
And one of those things is got to find a way. 1, 2, that means I got to get uncomfortable to find a way. So I feel like it's really that fear. Like you really decide, okay, you're not going to hold me here any longer, because staying here means I'm sacrificing my body, my health, my mind, my emotional state, maybe even your life, really. Like,
yes,
God knows everything, right?
Yes.
If you didn't make that decision, who knows where you would be today?
And if I hadn't shown up, like all the people that are most important to me in my life, my family, my children, my grandchildren, my husband, my mom and dad, my siblings, my close friends, like if I wasn't willing to sacrifice to show up for myself so that I could literally become who God intended to be from this place of freedom versus being stuck and being bound and all of that, and get that help that I needed. So it required that fearless decision to show up for myself. It was non-negotiable, because then I knew that I would be that person that I wanted to be in relationship with these people that mean the most to me. And also, we're blessed to be a blessing, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
Like,
And
I think that's so important because sometimes you feel like, okay, let me just do for everyone. Once I situate everybody else, I can do for myself. Really, it's like that on a plane, right? You put oxygen mask on yourself and then you can put it on others. So you chose, I'm going to put this oxygen mask on myself.
yeah,
In order to be there for the people I love the most,
yeah,
I have to do this.
yeah.
Wow. So talk me through that decision. That feeling of coming to that realization. Because that's big. I think people need to understand how big it is within yourself.
Well, I mean, and I did it with, like, let's just say it this. I'm not going to say it was a fearless decision. I'm going to say that it was a feel the fear and do it anyway decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Because I decided that I wasn't going to stay stuck on this roller coaster wheel of like 35 decades of what I would call, I mean, there were mountaintop moments, but there, you know what I mean? But I knew that there was more, and I knew that there was a stability and a flow and an abundance and all of that I had not yet tasted, and that in order for me to get my life in alignment with what I'd always dreamed about, I had to feel the fear, do it anyway, take that risk, because what was I risking if I didn't? Like, I really felt like my life depended on it, Rafi.
Wow.
Yeah.
It did.
It did.
It really did. And I feel, yeah, honestly, woo, girl. I just feel like, okay, so let me just sit here for a second. Because what you said was so big, it touches my heart. Because what I want people to understand is when I had my first initial conversation with Toy and Crandall coaching, Kelly was who I spoke to. And so if Kelly did not show up for herself and decide to feel the fear and do it anyways, but for her own family, she wasn't showing up for me, guys, right? She wasn't showing up for me specifically. She was showing up for herself and her family. But because you did that, you allowed me to show up for me.
Okay, Rafi, this is going to get emotional. Be careful.
But I think people need to understand because Kelly is probably the only person that saw both sides of me in such a rocky moment in my life. And so, from your perspective, can you talk to the people about what was that? So I said I remember that day, I was bawling, snotting, crying, literally just leaving my relationship, literally don't know where to go, literally just feeling like completely miserable. For you on the other side, holding strong for me, knowing the hope that you have. How, what was your impression, I guess, or what were you thinking? What was keeping you strong?
Okay. Literally, with respect, and I love the way, because I thought, okay, we're going to connect these dots here in a moment, and this is going to get to the real heart of this conversation. So good connecting of the dots.
I learned from the best, girl.
And you know what? It was that because it was so profound, like the decision, the sacrifice was so real for me in that decision, and then doing the work, getting on the other side of that, having that shift that rippled into every area of my life, not just my finances, but every area of my life, making me, like a better wife, a better everything, you know what I mean? And so a better human being. And when I say better, I don't mean that I'm better than anybody else. I mean that I became
version of you. Yes.
Right. My best version of myself. And so, but because it was so deep and so sustainable and so lasting, and I also knew that I will never forget, that journey and where I came from. So I saw in you, I mean, we had to rebook twice. So guys, the first time Ralph is on my calendar, he's like, messages me, I'm so sorry, I thought I'd be free, but I'm not free, and I'm actually, like, I'm leaving a relationship, and, like, I'm packing up and all that stuff, right? And I was like, oh wow. And then the second time didn't work either. And then it was just like, so what happens is
Wait, up there for a second.
Yeah.
I want people to understand as well, that was fear talking. It's like I knew that this would I don't know how, but I think somewhere inside of me knew that this was a decision that I had to make. And I think I was fearful about making the decision. Obviously, I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Right. You didn't know what the decision was, but you.
Yes. There was fear trying to stop me. But go ahead.
Okay. And so what happened is I didn't know Rafi. I didn't know any details, what kind of fear she might have been walking in. I know that, God brings us amazing human beings that, have all kinds of fears and other things that are happening. And there's such a huge life-changing aspect to what we do. But all I knew is that I was committed to her, and I felt we need like third time's the charm. And for me, I show up, I love my people, even if I've never met them. And it was just like, I already felt in my heart, this girl, we got to have this conversation. And so my perspective on that, Rafi, was, and then when you showed up in the car, I was like, okay, this girl's fighting for this. And you actually said, please. In fact, yes, I remember now. You said, Kelly, please, I really need this. Can I have one more spot on your calendar? That showed me this girl, she wants help. She wants to change her life. She's looking for the guidance that she hasn't had to this point. And she's ready to fight for this. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Oh my God. That's big. Because in my respect, like on my side, I remember you saying, like, listen, you're going to have to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
And
I did.
And I was like, wow. And I think that's when I started to really realize how serious this was. And we had a conversation with the team, and I was telling them that, yeah, guys, I didn't show up. I'm going to be honest. Fear got the best of me. I didn't show up the first 2 times. And what I realized was I can't complain anymore. If I see where my life is going, I saw that I was in a relationship that was toxic. I saw that I shared the story of my sister coming to my house, and I realized that she was in a physically abusive relationship. And I saw that this is where my life is going if I don't do something about it. Like, I can't complain anymore. And literally the moment was I was going to go pick up my nephew because I thought, I thought it was going down again. And I was like, you know what? If I can't save her, I'm going to save my nephew. And driving there like a madwoman, that's only God. And I realized that, where am I bringing him back to? My situation is not good, and his situation is not good. I don't have a stable home for him. I think that's when I realized, like, I have to do something about it. So after that, when you messaged me, I realized I got to do something. So I thank you for that message, because it's been crazy. But I want to talk about, wow, like, so we had that conversation. I decided now to change my life. And what I really want people to understand is, like, Kelly made that decision back in March. Because she made a decision for herself back in March, today this is happening.
This is March 2019, guys, remember.
Yes.
And so go ahead, let's keep going with that.
I'm able to make a decision now because you showed up for yourself. I was able to show up for myself and my family. So why I love the idea of the ripple effect. I feel like that's something that me and Kelly used to joke about when we were in the program, her encouraging me in the program. Part of the reasons why I decided to even take the role as a breakthrough coach is because of that ripple effect. It's because when you change, people around you change. What I didn't know from me making that decision is, boom, my sister decided to break open, her life and her business are breaking over. My nephew is gaining so much confidence I haven't been seen in so long. My mom is restored. Our relationship, the relationship with my dad is restored. It's been all these amazing things. Boom, I'm literally living my dream that we spoke about in that conversation.
Come on.
But that wouldn't have happened if you didn't show up for yourself. That ripple effect to me is blew my mind.
Because no man is an island. So we impact other people with the decisions that we make. Yeah. And right? And especially when we show up and we look fear in the eye and we take that brave look in the mirror and we're willing to go, okay, is what I've been doing really working? And there's this, change is scary, and making, and making bold decisions can be really scary, and doing things that feel risky can be scary. But if we'll take that brave look in the mirror and go, yeah, but I'm 10 years in doing things my way, and it is not working. And so when you take that brave look, you know what I mean? So that it takes bravery to take that, have that look in the mirror. And then it takes another decision around bravery to be willing to do what you need to do to change it. And if you don't know how, and you've tried everything and you're stuck and you just don't know how to change it, then you need to, right?
It helps. Wow. But I think I also want to touch on, like, what you just said there is so important. It takes bravery to make the decision, right? And the different types of bravery. It's also understanding when you don't make that decision, the ripple effect also still happens on the other side. You know what I mean? It's either it's going to go good or it's going to go bad, but either way, it's still going to happen.
Come on.
Life is still happening, right? And so I think about, okay, if you didn't make the decision, then I probably wouldn't be here. Let's think about that for a moment. Like, really? Like, I would have been, I would have come into my own realization, but maybe not now in this place. But now in this place, somebody else is watching this who I'm going to speak to or whatever, and they're going to be changed. And I feel like that's what's important. Because if that didn't happen, then that third person, they don't get to be impacted.
This is it. Because everything good in life, like everything that, God wants to, if you're a person of faith, like everything that God wants to do in your life, like manifests or shows itself in these horizontal, person to person relationship connections that we end up having. Everything happens in this plane. This is here. This is where we live. This is, and so, which is why, we have to really even more so in this season globally. We are meant to connect. We are meant to have intimate connection with one another. And I don't mean sexual intimate. I mean, right? Well, we have that too, but you know what I'm saying? With the right people at the right time. But the way that we're meant to connect with each other, we need to fight for that, even in this season globally, because it is in these connections and in this ripple effect that you're talking about, Rafi. Because our decisions always impact other people. Always.
Yeah, it always does. Yeah.
Or in the other direction.
Yeah. The indecision, right? And when you don't decide to do something about it, it also ripples out. And so I love what you said about the global impact, because I think people often don't think of it as so big. But that's what I love about ripples, is if you notice how wide it goes out. Well, right. So if you change one person, the next person, they might affect somebody else, and they might affect somebody else. And that's how you truly do make global change, or change on a grand scale, right?
And grassroots
change, or country change.
Yes. And if I can just pick up for a second, so the 60-year-old mind doesn't forget, but you mentioned about, even in indecision. Can I just say that we know so well, and Toyin and Taryn and our team has taught us so well, indecision is a decision.
Yes.
Boom.
That is true.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You hear that.
Yeah.
Indecision is a decision. Saying that you need to wait for it, saying that you need to think about it, saying that I need to find out this beforehand. Those are all just factors of indecision.
Yeah. I need to pray about it, even though you prayed about it for 10 years and begged God to do something.
This is what but that is what it is, right? It's those recognizing, being that self-aware to know that he's giving you something. And that's something important that you just said. This happened 5 days later, boom, it happened to come up on your feed. Just like me. I made the decision then. I'm like, let me just look up a group. Boom, this group's happened to be one that comes on. I didn't use Facebook prior to this. Now I'm always on Facebook again.
Right.
No, I literally dropped off Facebook for like the past 4 years.
Wow.
Like, I didn't really use it. I didn't have the app on my phone. I literally had to download the app.
Yeah.
And then look up groups. Happen to find it. So I feel like when it is your time, he does provide the way for you. You have to recognize the way, even if you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like what you said. There's something in you that just tells you, I'm doing something here. I need to do something. And holding on to that, who you are, right? Like you are important enough. You are loved enough to hold on to you. Life is going to get messy all the time. Like when I called her, guys, you guys need to understand. When I called her, literally tears, bawling. I'm sitting in a parking lot of a community center because I just left a meeting, and I was like, "No, this is happening." Even within that meeting, if I remember correctly, my phone died.
Yeah,
I had to call off another phone that I just happened to have. I mean, all these things happened, but I decided that, like, no, I got to do something. I at least have to hear this out. I don't know what this is, but I have to hear this out.
Yeah.
Because for some reason it's led into my life, and God knows what is happening right now in my life.
Come on.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
He also heard me. He heard me crying. It definitely is on purpose. Like, he heard me crying. He heard, there was times, like, really, there was times where I didn't share with you at the time when we spoke, but there was times that I was contemplating taking my own life. I was wondering about self-harm, all these things. He didn't know that,
No.
but he did, right? And
Right.
so he provided the steps for me. And so all those people who are thinking like, oh, should I do this? Should I just make the decision? He'll correct you if it's not the right spot.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
I was listening to something on just pivoting and like how important it is to be able to pivot on a whim, because you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. But if
Yeah.
you're so stuck with, I have to do things in this way, you'll never kind of open yourself up to what could be.
And you know what, Rafi? And here's the thing, and at the at the heart of all of this, of what we're talking about, is the gift of self-awareness. Because I will tell you that we can live
Yeah.
in denial, you know, like, and just a refusal to actually look right at something,
Yes.
because we're too afraid to look at it.
Yeah.
But if I were to challenge, you didn't invite me to challenge somebody, but I mean, if I were to challenge people out there, I would want to say, what the key to me getting like to my shift was, like world-class coaching, 100%. But I wouldn't have availed myself of the world-class coaching if I wasn't willing to look right at what was happening and know that if I did not change something,
that's true,
that I was going to stay here. And so, and just that self-awareness, it's a gift. It is a gift. And so this is not a season and not an hour in this like crazy planet we're on right now. This is not a season to stay stuck, and it's not a season to keep your head buried in the sand and pretend that the things that aren't working in our lives are not working.
Yes. Wow. Y'all need to hear that right now. It's very true. Very true. And I feel like sometimes we're so comfortable with being in denial, but you're not happy, guys. Like, if you're living in that spot, something is within you that's telling you that it's just not working. And so I think what you said right there is so important to understand. Like, it is that self-awareness.
Yeah.
So you have to be, it's scary, it's hard, it's uncomfortable. I'm not gonna pretend. I mean,
well, and just take that time, like, you know how it's so scary to step outside the wheel. Like, if you're the hamster in the wheel, and we know how common that is, right? The grind and the hamster in the wheel, and busyness keeps us from self-awareness too.
That's true.
Right? Ain't nobody got time for that. You want me to sit and reflect and look in the mirror and go, okay, and get real with myself? I don't have time for that. I'm working 3 jobs, or I'm,
Yes.
So, but if we just realize that our life depends on doing that, on getting quiet long enough, take that brave look and say, what's really happening here? What's not working? And how do I shift?
Yeah. And if I don't know, how do I get to somebody who does know?
Come on.
Just be willing to be desperate. That's a real fact. I guess I didn't realize that's what it was, right? You're desperate for a change. And so you're willing to do what you have to do. You're willing to be teachable. You're willing to be coachable. You're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, what I have been doing is not working. Not working.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing that. And I feel like I just want to kind of end on that note, because I think it's important to understand, like, it really comes from you realizing that you have more to give. You're also not done yet, guys. You're not done yet. You're not dead. So you got to have the chance, you know what I mean? You have the chance to make tomorrow better, next year better. But you have to be willing to look at yourself and see what is not working. Am I willing to do something?
Right. Because, I mean, look at this woman beside me, I mean, that's the thing, the moment of truth. And sometimes we're lucky enough to get more than one moment of truth, and sometimes we're not. But sometimes there's like a life-altering moment of truth that comes to us. And what are we going to do in that moment? That beautiful quote that Taryn gave us, Rafi, that said, procrastination
is the assumption Yes,
That you're gonna,
procrastination is the assumption
that
that
you're
God
gonna
will
get
give you
another
the
chance.
opportunity tomorrow. It's true.
Yes.
It's true. I look at that. I look at it like that now. I really try not to procrastinate myself, um, because it's true. The opportunity is in front of you, right? And we all know the opportunity is you're prepared for it. Opportunity is always going to be there, but are you prepared for it? And you can't get mad now when the opportunity passes you by and you know you're not ready. You know you're not ready. But wow, like just
And
thinking about, I just think about what you said for real. Like I was becoming self-aware. You were able to be self-aware, allowed me on my own journey to become self-aware, and so then we were connected. And listening to, like I was telling Kelly, I was talking to a cousin of mine, and she told me like, wow, like because of what you did, what you're going through, it's allowed me to think about something different. So
right.
maybe think about, wow, like we really are all connected. Um, it really is horizontal. And so when you start to open your eyes to people around you that you may not know is struggling with something, they are able to now open their eyes to certain things too. I feel like you kind of owe it to yourself, owe it to people around you to look up. If you are busy, look up. Because at the end of the day, you might be on the plane next time.
Mm.
It may not, you may not get that chance to come off that plane. I'm so grateful that you were, but we don't know what the next life, like I shared the story with my brother, we don't know the next time you might wake up or you may not,
No,
right?
this
Um,
this
so,
is the hard truth.
mhm.
It's a beautiful truth, but it's, I mean, we're all, ain't none of us going to get out of this world alive.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah, for sure. And
Wow.
the truth is the ripple effect for me is that my other role, like my leader role, and the way that I lead, the way that I coach,
Mhm.
like everything has just ramped up. Like I'm not the same person that I was
Mhm.
before. And
Yes.
so the people that look to me for leadership and coaching are getting a much better deal than what they would have had if I had not made that investment in myself and made that decision. And
Wow.
same for you, Raf. Like look at
Yeah.
the impact that you're having on your family and on your clients and all of that. They are receiving from your decision to fight for your life.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for being available, to allow me, right, to do that. And so thank you for showing up for yourself as well. Wow. Honestly, guys, I want to thank Kelly, and I want to thank everybody who's watching. Before we close, Kelly, you want to share a little bit more about what you do for Tiber and just how people can connect with you if you want to know a little bit more about that, how they can get under Kelly's leadership, you know what I mean?
Hey, sure. No, thank you for that. I'll take a moment to do that. So, yeah, that is my website that Rafi's putting up. This is a fantastic 21-year-old company out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I live and breathe for this kind of opportunity to empower people to know just what they're capable of, and so I love empowering other women. Mostly, we do have a couple of guys in the country, but literally, I am an ambassador for beautiful, safe, affordable, natural, gorgeous products that are made from scratch with love in Winnipeg. And yeah, I brought it to New Brunswick here 4 years ago. I was the fourth person in Atlantic, Canada. And so, yeah, the direct sales division of the 21-year-old company is only 6 years old. So there's opportunity from coast to coast. Holiday line launches on November 1.
There you go.
Boom. So I do have a private group. I mean, you can reach me there, but I'm also grateful tibergirl@gmail.com for an email connect. And then I have a private group on Facebook called Grateful Tiber Girls VIP Community. So
Nice.
I appreciate the chance to share that.
Yeah.
Listen, holiday shopping is going to be very different this year.
This is true.
Very true, right? And so it is connecting with people like myself who are able to show up and serve you and create a beautiful shopping experience for you online where you don't have to leave your house. Right? It's so good.
So good.
If you love shopping, Canadian, then I'm your girl.
That's it. That's awesome. Thank you. And if you're not sure how you're going to pay for Christmas, I mean, reach out to me, DM. Let's have a conversation about your money story. And let's make sure this Christmas is the best Christmas ever for yourself and your kids. But also, like, let's set up 2021. like one thing we've been really stressing is that ripple effect comes from you, that change in you, and how you're able to show up for other people now in your life. For both of us, that was through changing our money story. So if you also want to
Yes.
know how to do that, just DM me and we can talk up a conversation. But Ellie, thank you. Like, thank you so much for being available for today. Thank you so much for being available for yourself and for your family. Like my heart truly goes out for you. You'll always be a special place in my heart.
And you as well, my friend, and
Yeah.
you as well. Who knew in that conversation in that car back in March? Was it March?
Oh,
February?
it was February, yeah.
In February that we would be friends and colleagues. That was like a happenstance moment in a car. And so for my people, as I, of course, want to share this video, Rafi is, she can show up and serve you in a way you want to change your money story. She's your girl, and I want to connect you. So let's do it.
Thank you. Alrighty, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll talk to you soon. If you guys found value in this, please share it. But also let me know you're here. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you thought. All right. Bye, everyone.